Clark Gable was born on February 1, 1901, in a small town called Cadiz in Ohio, USA. His full name was William Clark Gable. He grew up in a simple, small-town family. His father, William, worked as a businessman, but when Clark was just 7 years old, his father passed away. After that, Clark and his mother, Adeline, moved to a bigger town where Clark could go to school. He was very close to his mother, who took good care of him after his father's death. Clark went to school like other children, and he did well. He liked to participate in sports, and he enjoyed being in school plays. He was also very interested in acting, which made him different from other children. When Clark finished high school, he wanted to become an actor, but he didn't have the money to go to a big acting school. Instead, he worked in different jobs, including at a factory and as a salesman, to earn money. Even though he worked hard, Clark never forgot his dream of becoming an actor. He decided to move to Hollywood, California, to give acting a real chance. Clark arrived in Hollywood in the 1920s. At first, he struggled to find acting jobs. He had to take small roles in movies. It was a tough time for him because he was still a new face in Hollywood. Clark had to work hard, and many people told him that he wasn't going to make it in the film industry. But he didn't give up. He continued to try, and his big break came in 1931 when he was cast in a movie called Dance, Fools, Dance. It was a small part, but it helped people in Hollywood notice him. Slowly, Clark started to get bigger roles. His career began to grow, and people started talking about him. By the 1930s, Clark Gable became one of the most popular and well-known actors in Hollywood. He was not only famous for his acting talent, but also for his good looks. He was tall, strong, and handsome, with a deep voice and a charming smile. Women loved him and men admired him. He had a special ability to connect with audiences. He could make them laugh, cry, and feel all sorts of emotions. His performances were so natural that people believed in the characters he played. One of Clark Gable's most famous films was Gone with the Wind, released in 1939. This film was based on a best-selling book by Margaret Mitchell, and it told the story of life in the American South during the Civil War. Clark played the character Rhett Butler, a strong, brave, and charming man who falls in love with Scarlett O'Hara, a beautiful and determined woman played by Vivien Leigh. Gone with the Wind was a huge success, and it became one of the most famous films in history. Clark Gable's performance as Rhett Butler was loved by fans, and he became a superstar after the film's release. The movie was long, but people didn't mind. They wanted to see more of Clark Gable on the screen. His famous line from the film, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," became one of the most well-known lines in film history. Clark's portrayal of Rhett Butler showed his strength, but it also showed his vulnerability and love for Scarlett. People loved the character because he was both tough and sensitive. After Gone with the Wind, Clark Gable's career continued to grow. He was called the King of Hollywood. He was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. His movies were popular all over the globe. He starred in many films throughout the 1930s and 1940s, including It Happened One Night, 1934, Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, and The Misfits, 1961. In It Happened One Night, Clark played a reporter who helps a runaway woman, and his charming performance won him an Academy Award for Best Actor. This was a big honor for Clark, and it showed how talented he was as an actor. Clark Gable wasn't just a talented actor. He was also known for being a kind and friendly person. People who worked with him on set always said he was very easy to work with. He treated everyone the same, from the famous stars to the crew members working behind the scenes. He was down to earth and humble, even though he was famous and very wealthy. He always made people feel comfortable, and this made him even more loved by his fans. During World War II, Clark Gable made a big decision. In 1942, he decided to join the U.S. Army and serve his country. Many actors at the time were being asked to help in different ways during the war, but Clark wanted to be on the front lines. He trained to become a bombardier and flew on dangerous missions. It was not easy, but Clark didn't care about the danger. He wanted to do his part for the country. He was very brave, and many people admired him for putting his acting career on hold to serve in the war. After the war, Clark returned to Hollywood, but things had changed. New actors and actresses were becoming popular, and the film industry was not the same as it had been before. Clark still worked in movies, but he wasn't as young as he had been. Despite this, his fans still loved him, and he made many movies throughout the 1950s and 1960s. One of his last films was The Misfits, 1961, in which he played a cowboy who had trouble adjusting to the modern world. The film also starred Marilyn Monroe, one of Hollywood's biggest stars at the time. Although the movie was not a big hit when it was released, it later became a classic. Sadly, Clark Gable passed away on November 16, 1960, at the age of 59. He died of a heart attack in Los Angeles. His death was a shock to everyone, and many people around the world were sad. He had been a part of Hollywood for so many years, and his films had made people happy. The news of his passing brought many people together to remember the great actor he was. Even though Clark Gable passed away many years ago, his legacy lives on. People still watch his movies today, and they still admire him for his talent, his kindness, and his unforgettable presence on the screen. He will always be remembered as one of the greatest actors in Hollywood history. His films like Gone with the Wind and It Happened One Night are still loved by audiences all over the world. Clark Gable's work continues to inspire new generations of film lovers, and his place in the history of cinema will never be forgotten. Clark Gable's life and career show that with hard work, dedication, and a little bit of luck, dreams can come true. He started with small roles, but through persistence and talent, he became one of the most famous and beloved actors of all time. Even today, more than 60 years after his death, his name is still known, and his films are still watched and enjoyed. His story is a reminder that talent, kindness, and staying true to oneself are important in life, no matter what your dreams are.